On this episode of Chaos in the Kitchen, I bring you tomato soup. Okay, first step is you gotta find a good place to set the recording device. Probably should have done that before I started recording, but yeah, that should probably do it. Let's see. First, we're gonna start with pot, which we don't know where we put it last. Probably in here. Not sure. It's really big. Okay. Here's the Dutch oven. We're gonna set that on. We're gonna put that burner on high and just let it sit. Well, we want it on high so that we can turn it off and start all the way over again once everything else is ready. Now, we don't really eat very much celery in our house, so try to grab the least wiggly one out of the bunch, because you know they're going to be wiggly. Alright, we got a pepper. Tear right into that bag. Alright. And an onion. Yeah, that's an onion. Okay, what you didn't see off camera was I washed these vegetables really good. And now what's really important is consistent knife cuts, like you're the president on an episode of Prison Break. So, here we go. If you cut yourself, don't use the pieces that have blood on them. That's how you get real consistent cuts there. Alright, so you want to start cutting your other vegetable before you realize that you're kind of running out of room on your cutting board. And so what's my motto? You can never have too many bowls out. Bowl number one for the celery. I'll probably get at least 3 or 4 more bowls, depending on the size of the bell pepper here when it's all done being cut. So in order to get consistent shapes, you need to cut these into triangles so that as you make cuts, they're all the same size.
Dad, Mom knows how to make it, and you don't have to tell her how you make it.
Just kind of move the knife back and forth here to really get the most consistent size shapes that you can. This is the kind of consistency you're looking for, where it's cut into 3 pieces and yet it's still just one piece. And then also we got some tiny guys and some big guys to give our consistency some variety. Another bowl. I don't think I've ever cut an onion the same way twice. You know, you really just want to go at it. Just kind of think about the shapes you want it to look like in the end, and just hope for the best, really. Just keep those shapes in mind as you're cutting, and realize that there's no possible way you're going to be able to make the shapes that you have in your mind right now. Because you gotta fluff it a little bit when you're done. Just fluff it to add some texture, some warmth. Oh shoot. So I accidentally mixed the bell peppers with the onion. I'm gonna have to get another bowl. Almost tripped over a staircase, a tiny staircase. Well, this is for onions. I know it says eggplant, but it's the onion. It's the onion bowl. If you have an eggplant bowl in your home, it's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect for onions. So, as you can see, the onions fit in there perfectly. So you'll notice carrots are not very wide, but the blade of a knife is very wide. So you want to lay your carrots out. You want to lay them out to match the length of the blade. This is the most efficient method for cutting carrots, because you can cut. Alright, that's about it right there. So we're going to end up cutting, we'll be able to cut all of these at once and save a lot of time. Okay, let's try again. On second thought, maybe that might not be the easiest. I think it might be easier if we just do them one at a time. The trick to feeling like a chef is cutting just as quick as you can without even thinking about where the knife is going. Honestly, just the faster the knife is moving, even if you're not cutting anything, you're gonna feel like, you know what? I'm a culinary master. Now this is all going in a soup, so think about these and think about wanting to drink them, and cut them about to the size that you want to drink a carrot. This bowl is getting in the way. I'm probably just gonna stack it on this bowl, and then I'll probably just stack these bowls just to save some counter space. Just stack your bowls. I've had to restart the Dutch oven 3 times now with all new batches of butter because it burnt. So that's the idea, is to get the glaze off of the bottom of the Dutch oven from previous cook sessions. After a good three butter burns, the glaze is completely deconstructed. I'm going to need another bowl. This one should do the trick. Okay, now it's time to read the directions. They were under the cutting board. So I'm just now noticing that this calls for half of a red pepper, and we've done a whole one. So we're going to want to remember to only use half of that. Fortunately, we mixed it with our onion already, but we want to use all of the onion we cut up, because that was a half of an onion. So I'm just going to kind of move the onion. See, this is why the bowl method is important. I really should have stuck to my method. If I had, it would be easy to just pull out a half of a bell pepper, because it would just all be in one bowl. As I said before, I've restarted the Dutch oven 3 times now. You know, they say 3's a charm. We're going to turn this on to, well, we've learned by now not to have it on the highest heat, because that can burn the butter. Butter. Cut off exactly 1 tab of butter. Exactly 1 tab. No more, no less. Once you've got your 1 tab, plop it in. And now's a good time to read the next part of the recipe. When it comes to the recipe, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. You want to read it 1 word at a time and do that word. So, like for instance, this says chop. So, well, I guess I need to read, I don't know what I need to chop. So probably I would say read a verb and a noun. And any kind of adjectives that are needed to form a complete thought. Chop, 1, stalk, celery. Okay, done. Check that off. Half an onion. Oh, chop. I have to go back because the chop is still over here. So chop 1/2 onion, chop 1 red bell pepper, carrots, saute in butter, add salt and pepper. Okay, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Okay, that's where we're at. I'm going to add exactly 1 more tab of butter in there, so that I can fill the bottom of the pan with butter. It's a good idea to clean up as you go along. Just don't clean up too thoroughly or you'll burn your butter again. Veggies are ready to go in the pot. Bowl number 1, bowl number 2, bowl number 3, bowl number 4. Look how yummy that looks. I attribute it to consistent and yet variable knife cuts, and also definitely by deglazing the pan with several rounds of burned butter. And I can't really speak highly enough about the multiple bowl method. Just stir around as much as you can. Sometimes put it all in one area. Sometimes that's nice. And then sometimes just spread it all back out evenly over the bottom of the pan. Sometimes that's real nice too. For a quick counter cleaning tip, if you own a broom, just wipe crumbs onto the ground. You'll get them later with the broom. I waited way too long doing something in the other room, and it's just getting to the point where the carrots are just barely turning black, so that's, you know, that it's probably about time to read the next part of the recipe. Okay. 2 minced cloves of garlic. I'm not sure what minced means, but I think it means through the garlic press. So that's what we're going to do. I really should have cleaned it out after the first one, but I thought maybe it would press through the first one's wrappers and down into the pot, but it didn't. I think if I wrote these recipe, it would say almost 2 cloves of garlic. You don't want to burn the garlic or your wife will nag you. Okay, add 1 can of diced tomatoes. It's important not to open up the can prior to this step because you don't want to let any of the freshness out. This is a fresh can of tomatoes here. One can of diced tomatoes and 2 cans of tomato sauce. There's 1 can diced. Now, if your wife is like mine, you can't get the whole recipe off of the card. You got to go into your text messages. Well, I had to start over completely because, as you know, you don't want to get ahead of yourself on the recipe card. So when it said add 2 bay leaves and good sized squirt, I put in 2 liters of that grapefruit soda, and I had to start over completely because it said good sized squirt of agave. So now we're back to the same point we were at, but I'm going to add agave instead of grapefruit soda. See how that turns out. Okay, bay leaves. I didn't know if it said good sized bay leaves or a good sized squirt of agave. Now I'm seeing. Huh?
I need to really
You need to get a bowl? I'm not quite done yet.
Just for cereal.
Oh, for cereal? You don't have much faith in my soup, huh? Alright. You know that it's almost ready when it's red in color. If you don't know this stirring pattern, just look up most efficient stirring pattern on YouTube and then just memorize it. It looks like this though. I'm only doing half of it though, because it would be excessive to do the full pattern. Alright, we're gonna let that simmer on high so that it gets a real good simmer. On low. Alright, good, because we really don't want to have to make the soup 3 times. Okay, timer went off. Let's take a peek. Yeah, oop, yeah. That looks good. Yeah, you want to see? As you can see, it's turned red. It has a flavor, but now we're going to mix it together in the blender. I found the bay leaves. You can put them back in the bay leaf jar if you want to ever use them. Otherwise, just toss them out. It's a good time to clean off knickknacks off of your counter space and put it back into the junk drawer so that you can frantically search the house for those items at a later point. Okay. And some cream cheese. Whoa. My cream cheese was holding up the camera. Hey, now I gotta find something else to hold up the camera. Alright, let's taste it. Maybe a little bit of salt and pepper. My salt and pepper was holding up the camera. Oh, I gotta find something else. There we go. Tomato soup.